Hey guys, tonight we settle into a world painted in pale blues and soft whites, where the endless Arctic ice stretches out before you like a quiet sea frozen in time. You trudge through the crunching snow, the cold air brushing your cheeks with a gentle sting, while the pale morning light filters through the thin winter haze, casting long shadows across the landscape. Around you, the vastness is both beautiful and a bit intimidating. A place where life moves on a slow, deliberate rhythm, untouched by the hurried pace of city streets or the buzz of modern life. It's the 19th century, and you find yourself living alongside Inuit hunters whose days unfold with calm patience and quiet purpose. You probably won't survive this journey if you expect excitement or fast action. Instead, you'll learn the art of waiting, of noticing the smallest shifts in the wind, or the faintest imprint of an animal's track. This isn't the wild chase of Hollywood films, but a gentle dance with nature, where every step is measured, every breath controlled. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments so we can see who's joining this slow Arctic adventure tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The day begins with the Arctic morning calm, the sun just a faint glow on the horizon, casting a soft blue tint over the snow. The world feels hushed, as if holding its breath. You can hear only the distant creak of shifting ice and the occasional call of a raven. The air smells sharp, almost like the clean scent of freshly laundered wool, but with a hint of something mineral. Frozen water trapped in stone. You move slowly, your boots making gentle impressions in the snow. The hunters of this time know that speed is often a disadvantage here. Rushing means missing the subtle signs that the land offers. A slight depression where a caribou rested. A patch of disturbed snow that marks the passage of a fox. Patience is their greatest tool, much like a well-worn bone needle or a sinew thread. Both quiet but essential. Historians still argue whether the Inuits' unhurried lifestyle was primarily a practical response to their environment, or a deeper cultural value emphasizing balance and respect. Either way, the mood of the morning sets the tone for everything that follows. You find yourself matching their pace, breathing slowly to keep warm, ears tuned to the smallest sounds, eyes scanning the horizon for life moving gently beneath the ice and snow. Even your thoughts begin to slow, as if the Arctic itself encourages a kind of mental unclenching. You remember that this life unfolds without the distractions of screens or alarms. Time here is marked by the sun's slow climb, the rise and fall of tides beneath the ice, and the patient rhythms of hunting and gathering. As you settle into this quiet, the faint smell of burning driftwood drifts from a nearby campfire. The hunters gather close, their voices low, telling stories that weave humor and wisdom in equal measure, a soft soundtrack to the steady crackling of flames. You smile quietly. There's something comforting about these moments, like a whispered lullaby shared across generations. So here you are, in the slow pulse of a 19th century Arctic morning, where life is measured in patience and observation, and every small detail counts. You set out just as the sun begins to warm the horizon, its first light spilling softly across the vast expanse of the snowy plains where the caribou roam. The sky, a pale wash of rosy pink and tender gold, gently breaks the long, cold night, promising the slow arrival of day. The horizon stretches infinitely, a seamless band of soft pastel hues melting into the indistinct whites and grays of the tundra below. Long, delicate shadows fall across the snow, cast by the scattered skeletal shrubs that punctuate the landscape like black ink strokes on an endless canvas of white. Your breath catches in the chill air, expelled in soft clouds that hang for a moment before melting away into the crisp, clean atmosphere. Each step you take is deliberate and careful, the snow beneath your boots crunching faintly. A quiet, satisfying sound that seems almost to belong to the landscape itself, rather than to you, an interloper on this ancient land. Before you, the faintest of trails weaves forward, an intricate natural pathway etched delicately into the snow by the slow, methodical passage of the caribou herds. These animals, these great graceful wanderers of the north, have traveled this route countless times, and the land holds the memory of their journey in every footprint, every broken twig, every tuft of fur caught on a branch. The landscape appears deceptively simple, almost austere in its monochrome palette. Snow dominates every surface, broken only by the dark, bare limbs of low shrubs and occasional rocky outcrops dusted with frost. But beneath this stillness pulses an ancient rhythm, a subtle, almost imperceptible life force that the Inuit hunters have learned to read with extraordinary patience and skill. To them, the tundra is not just a barren wasteland, but a living map filled with stories and signs waiting to be deciphered. Tracking the caribou is not a matter of haste or brute force. It is not a frantic chase or a reckless charge across the plains. Instead, it is an exercise in listening. Listening not only with your ears, but with your whole body and mind. It requires a profound patience, a quiet attentiveness that allows the landscape to speak to you in its own language. You slow your pace, matching your steps to the gentle rhythm of the earth beneath your feet, making each footfall as soft as possible. The hunters around you move with the same careful deliberation, their eyes and hands tuned finely to every minute detail. Every crunch of snow, every snap of a twig or rustle of fur becomes a note in the symphony of the hunt. The air is filled with subtle sounds, the distant call of a raven, the quiet whistle of wind passing over frozen ridges, the delicate crack of thinning ice beneath a hidden stream. You almost begin to feel less like an outsider and more like an integral part of this quiet world, your presence blending seamlessly into the frozen tapestry. The hunters teach you to notice the smallest traces, the faintest tuft of fur snagged on a branch, a broken twig at an unusual angle, or the scattered droppings left by the animals as they pass. These seemingly insignificant clues slowly accumulate, weaving together a story that guides you closer to the herd. Each sign acts like a stitch in an ancient, living map, one drawn not with ink or paper, but with nature's own hand. The practice demands patience, but also trust. Trust that if you pay close enough attention and move with respect, the land will reveal its secrets to you. This trust is not blind. It is born from centuries of observation and experience. It is a deep, reciprocal relationship between hunter and environment, where every gesture and glance carries meaning. You come to understand that this deliberate slowness, this gentle rhythm, is not merely a tactic for survival. It is a way of being, a slow unfolding of the senses, an attunement of body and soul to the subtle signals of wind, snow, and wildlife. Curiously, historians continue to debate whether the Inuits' tracking techniques were solely practical, developed purely for survival, or if they also held a spiritual dimension, a quiet communion with the caribou and the land itself. Some suggest that this attentiveness was a form of respect, a sacred dialogue that honored the animals and the world they inhabit. Whatever the truth, you feel the reverence woven into every movement, every hushed word, every pause. At one point, you pause to squat beside a patch of snow where a caribou's hoof has left a perfect, crisp imprint. The shape and depth tell a story of weight and movement. and you cup your hands around your mouth to softly whisper a joke you once heard. That if you tried to find such a print in the middle of a city, you'd probably lose a foot in the attempt. You laugh quietly to yourself, imagining the bewildered stares of city dwellers who would never suspect you were stalking caribou for dinner, not just lost amid towering malls and endless concrete. The hunters chuckle softly too, but the humor is delicate and low, a gentle murmur blending with the stillness. As you rise, the slow pace begins to reveal its true purpose. It is not simply about hunting, but about allowing your senses to open and unfold like petals greeting the sun. You notice the cold bite of the wind on your cheek, the delicate pattern of frost crystals on a nearby twig, the faint scent of earth and fur carried on the breeze. Your hearing sharpens to the soft flutter of a distant ptarmigan's wings. Your sight catches the glint of sunlight on icy branches far ahead. This deliberate slowness transforms the hunt into something almost meditative, a dance with the landscape and the creatures that call it home. The day stretches forward, hours marked not by clock, but by the subtle shifts of light and sound. The herd, slow-moving and dignified, begins to appear at the edge of the horizon, silhouettes framed against the muted sky, coats blending into the gentle grays and browns of the tundra. You watch quietly, heart steady, feeling the ancient rhythm settle into your bones. You feel less like a hunter and more like a shadow, a breath, a whisper in the vast, frozen silence. The caribou move steadily, unhurried, guided by a cycle as old as time itself. And you wait patiently to play your part in this timeless story, a witness to the enduring dance between human and nature. You settle yourself carefully beside a cluster of smooth stones, worn down by time and weather, their surfaces rounded like ancient river pearls. The cold beneath you creeps up through your mittens, seeping gently into your fingers, a quiet reminder of the unforgiving environment that surrounds this fragile moment. Yet despite the chill, there is a calm warmth in the air, a sense of purpose and quietude as the hunters begin to prepare their tools. Their movements are slow, measured, almost ritualistic, like a delicate dance performed not for an audience, but for the sake of tradition itself. Each hand moves with a practiced precision born from countless seasons lived in harmony with the land. There is no hurry, no unnecessary flurry of motion. Instead, there is a gentle rhythm, a soft, unspoken cadence that carries the weight of generations. It is a slow, deliberate unfolding as the hunters unpack their gear and begin the intimate work of crafting and tending the implements of survival. Bone needles come first, carved from the ribs of caribou and other animals taken during past hunts. These are no crude instruments. Each needle bears the hallmark of care and craftsmanship. They are carefully sharpened and polished, their edges smoothed until they gleam faintly in the pale light. To the untrained eye, they might appear fragile, delicate as porcelain. But in the hands of these hunters, they are tools of quiet strength, an extension of the body's will to endure. Alongside the needles lie coils of sinew, strands of animal tendon harvested with reverence and dried slowly over smoldering embers. The sinew is twisted and stretched, transformed into thread-like cords that embody resilience and flexibility. These strands seem to shimmer softly, as though holding within them the breath and spirit of the animals from which they came. Handling sinew is an exercise in patience and respect. It bends without breaking, yielding with strength. You reach out and pick up one of the bone needles, feeling its smooth coolness against your skin. It is lighter than you expected, balanced perfectly for the task it was designed to do. There is a quiet dignity in this small object, a promise stitched into every curve and groove. A promise of warmth, of protection, of survival, through the cruelest winters. You can almost sense the hands that shaped it. The stories woven into the very grain of the bone. These tools are not forged for violence or speed. They are instruments of meticulous care, designed for sewing the thick hides that shield bodies from frostbite and wind. They bind the edges of garments, repair tears torn by brambles or the struggles of the hunt. The sinew thread, surprisingly supple and elastic, stretches taut and then relaxes, holding fast like a gentle embrace around the hide's fibers. The act of stitching becomes a dialogue between maker and material, a tender conversation told through loops and pulls. You marvel at the thought that each stitch could tell a story. Of a patch applied after a particularly harsh blizzard, a hurried repair made in the freezing dark before dawn, or simply the slow accretion of care laid down, stitch by patient stitch. The clothing that emerges from these hands is more than just fabric. It is a living record of the lives lived on this land, a tapestry woven of memory, necessity, and love. The hunters lean in, their fingers deft and sure as they show you how to thread the needle. They pull the sinew through the tiny eye, then guide it through the hide, pulling just enough to hold the seams together, but not so tight as to tear the delicate fibers. It is a dance of tension and release, a balance between firmness and grace, like a gentle handshake between maker and material. Historians have long debated the origins of these tools and techniques. Some suggest they arose purely from the desperate necessity of survival in a harsh and unyielding landscape. Others argue that there was, and is, a profound aesthetic dimension, a quiet appreciation for the subtle beauty hidden in the simplicity of function. You can almost imagine a hunter pausing to admire a perfectly tied knot or a smoothly sanded bone edge, finding satisfaction not only in utility, but in the quiet elegance of their craft. As you watch, you notice that some of the tools bear delicate carvings, tiny etchings of animals, abstract motifs, or symbolic patterns. These designs are subtle, almost whispers of decoration rather than bold statements. They speak of identity and culture, memory and belonging, handed down through generations like a slow and thoughtful conversation across time. These carvings are not mere ornamentation. They are imbued with meaning, connecting each tool to the stories and spirits of the land and people. There is an unexpected humor in all this. The way something as mundane as a sewing needle becomes an extension of a hunter's patience and artistry. You chuckle quietly to yourself, recalling your own fumbling attempts at sewing, marked by frustration, tangled threads, and sharp words rather than calm meditation. Here, however, the needle is sacred, a vessel of resilience and care. The entire scene unfolds with a meditative calm. Watching these hands, the tools they shape, and the quiet purpose in every motion, you come to understand that survival here is not measured by brute force or haste, but by gentle precision and quiet craftsmanship. Every tool carries a softness, a respect for the materials chosen and the traditions honored, even in the biting cold of the Arctic. This slow, deliberate attention to detail seems to define the Inuit relationship with the world, a patient, respectful, and quietly strong connection to the land and its rhythms. The craft of stitching is a microcosm of this larger worldview, where every gesture is considered, every action weighed, and every moment given space to breathe. You take the needle and sinew in your own hands again, feeling the roughness of the bone and the delicate stretch of the thread. The hunters guide your fingers with gentle patience, encouraging you to find the balance between tension and softness. You sew a few tentative stitches into a scrap of hide, each pull a small act of participation in this age-old practice. As you work, the sun climbs higher, casting pale gold light across the frozen landscape. The air is filled with the faint scent of smoked hides and pine resin, mingling with the distant murmur of the camp and the soft rustle of wind through the sparse vegetation. Around you, the world feels at once vast and intimate. A place where survival depends on care as much as courage. Time seems to stretch and fold in this place. Moments of silence are punctuated by soft murmurs and the rhythmic tap of bone against hide. The hunters talk quietly among themselves, sharing stories and laughter, but always with an underlying reverence for the tools in their hands. This is not merely work. It is an act of preservation, not only of their bodies and families, but of knowledge, culture, and identity. As the afternoon wanes, you pause to look again at the cluster of tools arrayed before you. The bone needles gleam faintly, their carvings catching the last light. The sinew coils lie ready, promising strength and resilience. These objects are more than mere instruments. They are threads that bind past to present, hunter to land, human to animal. You feel a profound gratitude settle over you, a quiet awe for the patience, skill, and artistry embedded in every stitch, every pull of sinew, every polished edge. Here, in this cold and distant place, you witness a way of living that honors the fragile balance of survival with a soft, enduring grace. And as the shadows lengthen and the cold deepens once more, you tuck the needle and sinew carefully away, carrying with you the subtle warmth of a craft practiced in quiet dignity, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit woven gently into the fabric of the Arctic world. As the Arctic sun slipped slowly beneath the horizon, painting the sky with pale hues of lavender and soft gold, the small group of hunters gathered around the crackling campfire. The fire's warmth was a precious comfort against the crisp night air that sharpened with each passing hour. Above them, the first stars began to twinkle faintly, hesitant at first, but growing brighter as darkness settled deep across the endless snowy plains. The hunters' faces were etched with lines from cold winds and long seasons spent reading the land and sea for signs of life. They wore thick layers of fur and leather, garments that told stories of their own, of ancestors who had walked these frozen lands, who had survived and thrived where others might have faltered. Tonight, though, the stories were not about grand hunts or fierce battles with nature. Instead, they were softer, gentler, tales woven with laughter, mischief, and a warmth that echoed the fire's glow. Nestled close to the flames, the community's elders sat comfortably on reindeer pelts, their eyes glimmering with the quiet joy of remembering. Around them, younger hunters and children leaned in, their breath mingling with the curling smoke, faces lit by the fire's flickering dance. The air was filled with a hush that felt sacred, as if the night itself leaned in to listen. The stories were not the kind that clamored for attention with bold heroes and thunderous clashes. They came like slow waves, gentle and steady, carrying the wisdom of years in their folds. The elders spoke softly, their voices a melodic hum that soothed as much as it entertained, guiding the listeners into a realm where myth and memory intertwined. At the center of these tales were the trickster spirits, those sly, elusive beings who navigated the world with a grin and a clever thought. They were neither purely good nor bad, but something in between, playful, cunning, sometimes exasperating, but always with a lesson tucked behind their laughter. One elder, a man named Aputi, leaned forward, eyes sparkling beneath his weathered brows. His voice, low and warm, carried the first tale of the evening. Long ago, he began, before the world settled into its quiet rhythm, the land was wild and untamed, and even the animals were learning their place. It was a time when the trickster spirits roamed freely, their laughter echoing through the mountains and across the frozen tundra. The listeners shifted closer as Aputi continued. There was one spirit, clever beyond compare, who once set his sights on outwitting a stubborn polar bear. This bear was known to be fierce and unyielding, proud of his strength and quick temper. The spirit, however, did not approach with force. No, his weapon was patience and wit. A gentle chuckle rippled through the crowd. The children's eyes widened with anticipation. The spirit found the bear by a river, where the bear fished for his dinner. Quiet as a snowflake, the spirit overturned a bucket near the bear's fishing spot. Just as the bear reached for a fish, the spirit let out a sudden, loud sneeze. The firelight flickered on smiling faces. The bear, startled, stumbled back, scratching his head in confusion. The spirit, hiding behind a rock, chuckled softly. It was not strength that won that day, but a simple trick, patience, timing, and a little harmless mischief. Laughter filled the circle, warm and easy, like the fire's own glow. This story was more than just a clever prank. It was a lesson wrapped in humor. The elders would say that in the unpredictability of the world, it is not always the strongest who survive, but those who can think with cunning and adapt with grace. The night deepened, and one by one, more stories unfolded. There was the tale of the fox who outwitted a raven, the spirit who turned a grumpy old caribou into a laughing friend, and the quiet lesson of the snowflake spirit, who taught that even the smallest things could change the world if given a chance. In between the stories, the hunters shared quiet words, observations about the land, reflections on the day's journey, and gentle jokes that bubbled up like the crackling fire. The camp was alive with a rhythm that was both ancient and immediate, a living connection between past and present. One of the younger hunters, a boy named Tumak, looked up at the stars, his eyes shining with wonder. "Do the tricksters ever get in trouble?" he asked softly. Aputi smiled, his face creasing with affection. "Oh, yes," he said. "Sometimes their tricks go too far, and they must learn humility like the rest of us. But always there is kindness behind their mischief. They remind us not to take ourselves too seriously, to laugh even when the world is hard." The circle nodded in agreement, the fire's warmth a quiet embrace around them. As the night grew colder, the stories slowed, their tones softening like a lullaby. The voices became whispers, floating gently on the still Arctic air, carrying the listeners toward dreams. The flickering fire cast long shadows that danced across the snow, a silent chorus accompanying the tales. In these moments, the community was bound not only by shared stories, but by a deeper understanding that humor, kindness, and connection were as vital to survival as any skill or weapon. The trickster spirits, with their sly smiles and gentle lessons, lived on in every laugh, every knowing glance, every whispered word beneath the vast, star-studded scheme. You find yourself leaning back against a worn sled, the fire's warmth seeping into your bones, heart full with the quiet joy of belonging. The stories have woven a soft thread through the night, a thread that will carry you safely through the long Arctic winter, a reminder that even in the harshest places, the light of laughter and love never fades. You slide carefully into the narrow cockpit of the kayak, the wood beneath your hands smooth and warm from countless voyages spanning generations. This vessel is more than a boat. It is born of deep respect for the frozen world around you, crafted to move with the water's rhythm. As you settle in, the kayak rocks gently beneath you, a subtle sway that feels alive, inviting balance and calm. Around you, the fjord stretches like a vast mirror, its glassy surface reflecting the pale Arctic sun hanging low in the sky. The crisp air carries the briny scent of salt and faint hints of seaweed and driftwood along the shore. Above, soft clouds drift lazily across an endless dome of pale blue and gray. Here, the stillness is profound, a silence as if the very breath of the earth holds steady. You lift your paddle, the worn blade dipping quietly into the water, sending ripples shimmering under the Arctic light. Each stroke pushes the kayak forward, gliding effortlessly across the fjord. The soft creak of wood and splash of water form a delicate symphony, settling your thoughts and steadying your breath. Hunters had told you how the kayak's sleek curves mirror the streamlined shape of a seal's body, allowing it to slip silently beneath waves. This craft is a living extension of nature's wisdom, balanced patiently beneath you, encouraging calm attentiveness rather than hurried effort. More than a vessel, the kayak is a quiet meditation, drawing you into the present with each stroke. Time slows, and the chatter of the mind softens into a rhythm matching the ebb and flow of sea and sky. Historians debate whether the kayak's origin is purely practical or also symbolic, a sacred link to the spirits of the sea. Whatever the truth, you feel the weight of generations and the vastness of nature in this moment. Floating alone, yet deeply connected. You smile softly, imagining the chaos of a crowded marina back home, where boats race and roar. This kayak rejects haste and showmanship, favoring slow, deliberate grace. Your body shifts with the gentle rise and fall of the waves, reminding you that harmony, not control, is key. Sunlight dances on the water, casting flickering patterns of light and shadow. Nearby, seals break the surface with quiet grace, their dark eyes reflecting your own calm curiosity. You pause, letting the kayak drift with the current, inhaling the cold, salty air mixed with seaweed and driftwood. Suspended in this stillness, you feel woven into the Arctic's rhythms. The tide's pull, the whisper of wind, the heartbeat beneath ice and stone. The kayak creaks softly as you resume steady, mindful strokes. Each movement is a conversation, a sacred dialogue between you, the craft, and the sea. Ahead, the fjord narrows, framed by snow-dusted cliffs. The mountains stand silent and watchful, anchoring the vast openness. You imagine countless voyages here, hunters at dawn, mothers with children, elders sharing stories. This kayak is a thread through those tales, a testament to survival and respect. Above, Arctic terns wheel and cry, their silver wings flashing against the sky. Their calls break the stillness, a vivid spark of life. You watch their effortless flight, marveling at the dance of life in this cold world. Time here is cyclical, measured by seasons and light. Your strokes fall into that rhythm, each a heartbeat in nature's pulse. Droplets flicked from your paddle catch the sun like tiny prisms before falling softly. Small moments of fragile beauty, precious if you pause. The kayak leans gently as you shift to avoid a submerged rock, a reminder of balance required. Your muscles engage subtly, core steadying, mind calm. This is no rush, but a dance with the elements. Memories surface of ancestors carving kayaks by hand, shaping curves with reverence, tools of bone and stone. They understood sea moods and animal ways, crafting vessels to carry them safely. This knowledge passed generation to generation, a sacred trust. The bow and stern echo the seal's shape, a fusion of art and utility, reflecting the maker's spirit. Each kayak unique, a living link in survival's chain. You close your eyes briefly, the cold breeze brushing your face. The soft rush of water, distant raven calls, whispers of Arctic willows blend into a quiet symphony. Your heartbeat slows, thoughts settle like drifting snow. In this fragile moment, you feel profoundly connected. Not just to the kayak or water, but the vast web of life here. Survival depends as much on patience, respect, and harmony as on strength. The sun dips low, painting the sky in soft pinks and purples. Shadows stretch long across the fjord. The kayak slips forward, a whisper threading you into this wild place. A smile forms, gratitude filling you for this simple grace, the tactile bond with wood and water. the quiet conversation with nature, the peace steadying your spirit. The kayak carries you gently, a symbol of balance, patience, and belonging. Stars begin to twinkle faintly as you paddle back to shore. Soft, deliberate strokes, the creak of wood, splash of water, your faithful companions. The cold air sharpens. The silence enfolds you like a warm cloak. You are a voyager, gliding through silence, cradled by the timeless rhythm of sea and sky, carried not just by paddle and craft, but by a deeper current, the endless flow connecting human, nature, and spirit. You crouch low at the very edge of the ice, feeling the brittle chills seeping through the thick layers of your fur clothing, your breath forming small, fleeting clouds in the frigid Arctic air. The pale Arctic light shimmers softly across the frozen surface before you, casting a silvery sheen on the ice that stretches endlessly toward the horizon. Beneath the brittle crust, the cold, clear water moves quietly, and you watch intently as the seals bob gently, their dark eyes breaking the surface briefly before slipping beneath the glassy waves once more. This hunting here is not a rush of noise or frantic motion. Instead, it is a profound lesson in stillness, an exercise in patience and respect. The silence feels heavy yet sacred, as if the entire frozen world holds its breath in a slow, reverent dance between hunter and hunted. You find yourself attuning to the rhythm of the seals' breathing, the soft, barely audible plop of their movements beneath the ice, trying to slow your own breath and steady your heartbeat to match theirs, as if melding your pulse with the quiet life beneath the frozen sea. Around you, the hunters move with practiced calm, their eyes sharp, bodies poised, as they patiently teach you the delicate art of seal snares and silent approaches, an ancient craft woven through generations. The elder hunters remind you that every movement must be precise and measured. Even the faintest sound or a hurried gesture can send the wary seals plunging deep beneath the ice, leaving you alone with the echo of your own heartbeat pounding in the Arctic silence. You examine the snares they lay gently on the ice, simple loops of twisted sinew, each a marvel of quiet engineering designed to hold firmly but without cruelty. These snares are not traps meant to maim, but instruments crafted with care, designed to capture the creature with minimal struggle and maximum respect. Watching this ritual unfold, you realize how slowly and carefully every action is performed. The entire process focused less on the hunt's outcome and more on the sacred respect owed to both the animal and the fragile environment that nurtures all life here. The ice beneath your hands seems to hold the weight of centuries of wisdom, each cautious step a silent echo of those who came before, teaching that survival in this harsh world demands harmony and reverence. Scholars and historians debate whether these techniques emerged purely as practical adaptations to the unforgiving Arctic environment, or whether they were deeply influenced by spiritual beliefs, emphasizing balance and reciprocity with the natural world. Regardless of their origin, you feel the deep reverence in every whispered instruction, every cautious footfall, every careful placement of sinew and wood. This knowledge is more than survival. It is a bond, a conversation spoken in gestures and silence between humans, animals, and the earth itself. Amid this solemnity, a subtle humor surfaces. As you strive to mirror the hunter's quiet grace, you inadvertently sneeze softly, the sound piercing the stillness. The group's quiet, amused glances settle on you, followed by gentle reminders that patience is not only for the seals, but for you, the learner. You smile inwardly, aware that mastering silence is a discipline far harder than it seemed, a lesson in humility as much as skill. The cold Arctic air carries with it the faint but distinct scent of sea salt mingled with the musky warmth of the seals, a fragrance that, instead of biting, feels oddly comforting. an ancient perfume that speaks of endless cycles of life and endurance. Above, the sky is a pale wash of blue, its light softened and diffused through thin clouds drifting lazily overhead, enhancing the serene, almost sacred atmosphere that envelops you. As you wait, time seems to fold in upon itself, stretching each moment gently into the next, the vast stillness wrapping around you like a soft, endless cloak. Here, seal hunting transcends mere necessity. It becomes a deliberate, mindful dance of presence and respect, a lesson in patience and humility, a silent celebration of the quiet beauty and enduring spirit of the Arctic world. You hear the soft padding of paws against the crisp snow before their shapes emerge from the pale light of the Arctic dawn. Inuit dogs, gliding like shadows across the frozen landscape with a grace so quiet it seems part of the very wind. Their coats are thick, woven from the fibers of centuries of adaptation to the biting cold, each hair shimmering faintly in the weak sun, reflecting muted hues of russet, sable, and cream. The air holds the faint scent of pine resin and wood smoke, but it is the gentle warmth of these loyal creatures that seems to animate the stillness, a living thread connecting the vast expanse of ice and snow to the intimate pulse of life. For generations, these dogs have been the steadfast companions of hunters, partners not merely in task, but in spirit. You watch as they weave through the encampment, silent and purposeful, their movements measured with an ancient rhythm, born of necessity and deep understanding. Each step is a careful negotiation with the frozen earth, every twitch of muscle calibrated to conserve energy in a world where both silence and endurance are survival tools. Their breath forms small, fleeting clouds in the frigid air, misting like whispers around their strong jaws. And their eyes, calm, steady, and intelligent, hold a quiet wisdom that speaks of countless journeys over ice-swept plains and beneath endless skies. Unlike the dogs of more crowded lands, these northern companions do not bark without cause. Their silence is not emptiness, but a language of its own, one woven from attentive stillness and watchful presence. They sit or lie beside the hunters without fuss or need for command, alert yet relaxed, embodying a patience that mirrors the slow unfolding of Arctic days. Their vigilant calmness feels like a balm against the starkness of the land, a steady heartbeat amid the seeming vastness and isolation. Their role transcends that of simple pets. These dogs are essential collaborators, vital to the very rhythm of life in the Arctic. They pull sleds laden with gear and provisions, their muscles rippling beneath their dense fur as they move in unison with the hunter's calls and gestures. They rest at firesides, their bodies curling into warm, compact shapes that radiate comfort. Their presence a living shield against the chill. And in the quiet moments, their gaze meets the eyes of their human companions, conveying a language built over generations. Trust, respect, understanding. The hunter's voices rise softly in greeting or command, rarely more than murmurs, blending seamlessly with the crackling fire and the whisper of wind through sparse tundra brush. These few words carry the weight of shared history, each phrase an echo of ancestral knowledge and unspoken affection. The dogs respond with subtle shifts of posture or glance, small but profound acknowledgments of a bond forged not in haste, but through patient, everyday acts of care and cooperation. Scholars and historians continue to debate the origins of these remarkable animals. Whether their bond with the Inuit people emerged purely from practical needs, or whether it holds a deeper spiritual significance. Some suggest the dogs evolved alongside the hunters as vital tools for survival, bred for strength, endurance, and resilience. Others see in their steady companionship a symbol of loyalty and spiritual kinship, an embodiment of endurance and harmony with the harsh environment. Whatever the genesis, It is clear that these dogs carry more than just weight on sleds. They bear stories, memories, and a sacred trust passed quietly across generations. One dog, a large creature with a russet coat speckled like sun-dappled leaves, moves close to you now. It nudges your hand gently with a cold nose, warm breath puffing against your glove in soft whines. An invitation to share a moment of connection in this vast wilderness. The simplicity of the gesture brings a smile to your face, a tender reminder that even in the patience and endurance required by this world, affection and companionship remain vital threads. You chuckle softly, imagining the frantic energy of city dogs, barking and bustling endlessly, and you think they might well envy the serene grace of these Arctic travelers. The dog's fur carries the faintest hints of wood smoke and earth, a grounding scent in the sharp, clean air that seems to cleanse the soul itself. Watching them, you feel the profound comfort that true companionship brings. How loyalty can carve a small sanctuary of warmth and trust, even in the coldest and most remote places. The bond between hunter and dog is a silent dialogue of patience, mutual respect, and slow understanding, woven with gentle hands and steady hearts. As you settle beside the dogs, they respond with a collective sigh, curling into tight, soft balls of warmth that speak of home and safety. Their breathing slows, rhythmic and calm, a lullaby for the long Arctic night that stretches ahead. Together, you share the quiet resilience of a world shaped by endurance and grace. Each heartbeat a testament to the enduring spirit of survival and connection beneath the vast, pale Arctic sun. You find yourself naturally drawn to a snowbank nestled near the heart of the camp, where the landscape's quiet stillness is punctuated by a remarkable sight. Large blocks of ice, meticulously carved and fitted together to form an underground ice cellar. This is no haphazard construction, but a marvel of slow, deliberate engineering, a testament to the hunters' deep knowledge of their environment and their patient craftsmanship. The walls, cool and gleaming faintly in the filtered Arctic light, enclose a space both humble and miraculous, a sanctuary where the bounty of the land is carefully stored, preserved through the long months of waiting, the season when nature seems to pause beneath a frozen blanket. As you approach, the air grows cooler, carrying with it the faint, sharp scent of frost mingled with the earthy musk of stored meat. The ice cellar exudes a quiet dignity, a place where time itself seems to slow, stretching the present into a slow, measured continuum that echoes the rhythm of the land. It is a place where patience is not only necessary, but revered, where every action carries the weight of generations, of countless winters lived in harmony with the cycles of nature and the gifts of the Arctic. The hunters move with careful precision, their hands steady and sure as they place strips of seal and caribou inside the cool chamber. Each piece of meat is layered with delicate sheets of snow and thin plates of ice, a process both practical and ritualistic. There is a reverence in their touch, a quiet ceremony unfolding in the rhythmic layering, the folding and covering that ensures the freshness of their sustenance. Their movements are slow, deliberate, a dance that blends survival with respect. You watch as they explain, their voices low and steady, how this ancient method preserves food without spoilage for months on end. The ice and snow form a natural freezer, harnessing the Arctic cold as both protector and preserver. The layering creates a delicate balance. Too little snow, and the meat risks drying. Too much, and the ice might encase it too firmly. This knowledge is not written in books, but passed down through lived experience, through patient observation and respect for the natural world. In this frozen vault, you almost taste the anticipation of a well-preserved meal. The subtle flavor locked inside frozen time, waiting patiently to nourish and sustain. The cold air is crisp and sharp. Yet there is warmth in the promise of food carefully kept, a warmth that contrasts beautifully with the glacial surroundings. The hunter's stories breathe life into the cold walls, telling of days when every piece saved was a victory over hunger, a safeguard against the harsh, unforgiving seasons. Historians still debate the origins of these preservation techniques, whether they arose purely from necessity, driven by the relentless demands of survival, or if they also carry a spiritual dimension, a form of respect and gratitude toward the animals whose lives provide sustenance. You sense that the truth lies somewhere between, a practical art imbued with reverence, a blending of the physical and the sacred. Every careful placement of meat and snow is an act of honoring the animal's sacrifice, a silent thanksgiving etched in ice and shadow. There is a gentle humor in the moment when you attempt to open the ice cellar's heavy door. The wood is stiff and reluctant in the biting cold, resisting your efforts like a stubborn friend reluctant to reveal its secrets. You laugh softly at your own fumbling, reminded that patience here extends beyond the hunt and food preservation. It is woven into every gesture, every task, no matter how small. Even the act of opening this door becomes a lesson in humility and endurance. Stepping inside, the cold air wraps around you with a crisp embrace. It smells faintly of salt and frost, a mingling of the ocean's breath and the earth's deep chill, with the rich musk of stored meat lingering like a secret perfume. The combination is oddly comforting, a sensory reminder of the interdependence between land, sea, and people. This is not just storage, it is a living memory, a thread in the enduring tapestry of Arctic life. As you stand there, absorbing the stillness, it becomes clear that slow food is not a modern invention here, but a quiet tradition, a way of life honed over centuries. The ice cellar embodies the Inuit philosophy of patience and respect, a measured response to the challenges of the environment. Food is treasured, preserved carefully, not rushed or wasted, a principle that extends beyond the cellar to every aspect of existence in this frozen world. The process itself feels like a meditation. The layering of meat and snow, the sealing against time and decay, the subtle interplay of cold and warmth. It is an intimate conversation with nature, a pact to honor and protect what the land has given. The hunter's hands move with quiet reverence, aware that each piece of preserved food carries with it stories of past hunts, family gatherings, and survival. You imagine the ice cellar through the seasons, the slow thaw of spring, the soft crunch of autumn frost, the endless white silence of winter. Through it all, this chamber remains a steadfast guardian of life, a refuge of sustenance and memory. It anchors the camp, a symbol of continuity amid change, a reminder that endurance is built on respect and care. Outside, the wind whispers over the snowbank, faint and steady, like a breath from the earth itself. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting long, pale shadows that stretch toward the horizon. You feel a profound connection to this place, to the people who live here with quiet strength, whose lives are entwined with the ice and snow, with the rhythms of preservation and patience. In this moment, the ice cellar is more than a shelter for food. It is a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, a sacred space where the past and present meet in the silence of frozen time. The slow, respectful approach to preservation is a thread in the larger fabric of Inuit life, a life woven with care, humility, and an enduring pulse that carries through the seasons, binding people to the land and to one another in the shared journey of survival. You pull the soft caribou hide closer around your shoulders as a cold breeze stirs the air, sending a subtle shiver down your spine that is quickly quelled by the supple warmth beneath your fingers. The texture shifts gently under your touch, smooth yet rugged, a testament to patient, skilled hands that have carefully tanned and softened the hide, transforming raw animal skin into a living fabric. It is a fabric that breathes with the land, woven not only from sinew and skin, but from generations of knowledge, survival, and respect. This is no mere garment. It is a story stitched quietly into every seam, an intimate dialogue between the wearer and the world around them. As you stand among the hunters, watching their steady, deliberate motions, you begin to see these clothes as more than practical armor against the unforgiving Arctic chill. They are living tapestries, soft, flexible shields forged from the very creatures that sustain life here. Every stitch, every fold, every carefully layered piece of hide is infused with meaning. The sinew thread binding the garments is strong, yet delicate, looping and knotting in patterns that carry stories far deeper than function alone. These patterns speak of family ties and clan identities, spiritual connections that bind people to their ancestors, to the land, and to the animals whose sacrifices enable survival. The layering itself is an art form, a subtle choreography of insulation and breathability designed to trap warm air close to the body while shedding cold moisture. You observe the hunters layering hide upon hide, each piece meticulously placed to create a gentle dance with the elements. Soft fur lining against the skin, sturdier leather shielding the outer layers, and hoods and mittens shaped precisely to guard against piercing winds. The garments fit like a second skin, their curves echoing the contours of the human form. Each curve honed through countless winters and countless hands shaping the same ancient designs. Historians and anthropologists debate whether these clothing styles emerged purely from environmental necessity, ingenious adaptations to an icy wilderness, or if they also carried a deeper social significance within Inuit communities. Some argue that the subtle variations in stitching, the complexity of patterns, and the choice of materials marked social status or clan membership. Others see these garments as sacred artifacts, worn with reverence, bearing the weight of identity and spiritual belief. Whichever the case, you cannot help but admire the craftsmanship, the patient, thoughtful work woven into every hood, every mitten, every boot. Each piece is a fortress in miniature, a soft bastion against the harsh winter's bite, shaped by hands that know the delicate balance between protection and freedom of movement. Your own attempt at sewing is clumsy and tentative. The sinew slips and tangles in your fingers as if it has a mind of its own, refusing to obey your unpracticed touch. You laugh quietly at yourself, a soft sound mingling with the crackle of nearby fires and the low murmur of conversation. The hunters watch you with gentle smiles, their eyes kind and knowing. They understand that mastery of these skills requires time, patience, and a willingness to listen, to learn the slow, intricate language of the Arctic world. Your fumbling stitches are not failures, but steps along a path walked by countless hands before yours. A path of slow, steady progress woven through years of experience. The faint scent of tanned hide mingles with the smoky aroma of burning wood and dried herbs, drifting from nearby fires where skins are stretched, softened, and prepared. This scent, earthy and warm, settles into the air like a quiet hymn to tradition, a reminder of the hands that keep these ancient ways alive in the midst of an ever-changing world. It wraps around you, grounding you in this moment, connecting you to a lineage of hunters and makers whose lives are stitched with patience and care. Wearing these clothes is like wrapping yourself in a slow, warm embrace, an embrace that carries stories of survival and love, resilience and respect. The garments hold within them the memory of each animal taken with gratitude, each stitch made with reverence, and each moment spent learning to honor the delicate balance between human and nature. You feel the weight of this legacy, not as a burden, but as a gentle strength that steadies and sustains. The tactile richness of the hide beneath your hands invites a quiet contemplation. You trace the soft fur lining the inside of a mitten, marveling at the intricate weave that forms the cuff, tight yet flexible, designed to keep out biting wind while allowing the nimble movement of fingers. You notice how the seams curve naturally along the shape of the hand, how the leather is thinned just enough at the joints to enable dexterity without sacrificing warmth. Every detail speaks of a long, patient observation of nature's rhythms and needs. You look down at your boots, crafted with the same care and precision. Thick soles of hide folded and stitched together, shaped to cradle feet against the sharp ice and snow. The interiors are lined with soft fur, a quiet refuge from the cold, while the outsides bear faint patterns etched into the leather, a subtle signature of the maker, a whisper of clan identity, or perhaps a talisman against misfortune. These boots are not simply worn, they are lived in, molded by countless steps across frozen tundra. Each scuff and crease a page in a living book of survival. The slow rhythm of making these clothes mirrors the measured pace of life in this landscape. Nothing is rushed here. Every action is considered. Every stitch a meditation on the present moment. You realize that this patience is itself a kind of wisdom, a deep knowing that survival in the Arctic is not won by haste or force, but through respect, care, and endurance. Each garment is a vessel of this wisdom, a soft armor woven from the threads of culture and environment. As the wind rises again, carrying with it the distant call of a lone raven and the faint crunch of footsteps on frozen snow, you feel a quiet gratitude for this connection to tradition. The caribou hide wrapped around you is more than protection from cold. It is a living bridge to the past, a testament to the quiet strength that flows from knowledge passed down through generations. You feel the slow heartbeat of the land beneath the fabric, a rhythm that pulses through each stitch and every fold. In these clothes, you are not merely shielding your body, you are donning a story of life woven with care and humility, of a people who have learned to listen deeply to the land and its seasons. The tactile warmth of the hide carries you gently through the cold, a soft reminder that survival is not merely physical endurance, but a dance of respect and relationship. You practice the stitches again, your fingers growing steadier with each loop, each pull of sinew. The hunters watch with quiet encouragement, their eyes reflecting the steady flame of the nearby fire and the enduring light of ancestral knowledge. You feel yourself becoming part of this slow, deliberate craft, not as a master, but as a humble student in the vast, patient school of the Arctic. The day wanes, the pale sun dipping low toward the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the snow like delicate threads of gold. The cold deepens, but wrapped in the caribou hide, you are wrapped in a warmth that transcends the physical. It is the warmth of history, of culture, and of quiet resilience. A soft fortress built stitch by patient stitch. A living tapestry that carries the enduring spirit of a people and a land entwined. The return of the sun in the Arctic is never a sudden affair. It does not leap into the sky like a blazing fireball, blazing with fierce heat or dazzling light, as one might imagine the dawn elsewhere. Instead, it arrives slowly, gently, almost shyly, as if hesitant to break the profound stillness that has reigned for so many months beneath the long Arctic night. This soft, gradual easing of darkness is like a deep exhale from the very earth itself. A careful, deliberate stretching after a long slumber. At first, it is just a pale glow on the horizon, a subtle brightening that seems almost tentative. But slowly, imperceptibly, the light grows. The sharp edges of shadow soften, and a quiet warmth begins to touch the frozen landscape. As you watch, the entire world seems to breathe in this delicate change. The ice, the snow, the towering cliffs, and the still waters, all bathing in this muted, gentle illumination. It is as though the Arctic itself is awakening, stretching its limbs after months of frozen sleep. And you can feel the calm energy ripple softly through the camp where the hunters wait. There is a profound shift in the atmosphere, subtle yet unmistakable. The mood changes like a whispered promise carried on the wind. Where before the world felt heavy, quiet, and suspended in cold, the light now infuses everything with a renewed sense of possibility. The pace of life slows and lengthens, deepening into a rhythm that matches the measured arc of the sun's rise. The hunters, whose lives have been shaped by these cycles since time immemorial, move with a quiet awareness of the seasons, their bodies and minds attuned to the changing world around them. Their daily rhythms, once confined to short, flickering days of winter, now stretch, allowing longer hours for the essential tasks of survival and preparation. You observe how their movements shift. There is a gentleness and patience in the way they gather supplies, mend their tools, and prepare for the coming months. The camp hums softly with activity, but it is a soft murmur, not a hurried rush. Even their storytelling, shared beneath the soft glow of the returning sun, seems to linger longer, woven with laughter and wisdom, a vital thread of connection that carries forward the traditions of their ancestors. The air itself feels lighter, as if relieved of a great weight. There is a faint but tangible promise of growth and renewal in the breeze. The promise that life, which had seemed dormant or nearly paused, will soon bloom again in this harsh and beautiful land. Tiny signs of spring begin to show in the landscape. The softening of the snow in sheltered places, the glint of thawing water, the first tentative calls of birds returning from their winter migrations. It is a season not of sudden change, but of gradual transformation, a slow unfolding that requires patience and respect. For generations, the seasonal transition from long night to returning light has held profound spiritual significance for the Inuit people. Historians and anthropologists debate whether this slow and subtle shift in light has influenced Inuit spirituality more deeply than any other natural event. Regardless of the particulars, it is clear that the sun's return marks a turning point of great importance. A quiet celebration of survival through the darkest times, of resilience, and of the enduring power of patience. The sun's steady climb into the sky reminds the community of their intimate bond with the land and the cosmos, and of the cycles that govern all life here. It is a sacred time when the world seems to hold its breath, and hope flickers anew. As you stand amidst this timeless landscape, you find yourself smiling at the thought of how, in your previous life far to the south, the return of sunlight might have been met with frantic urgency. People rushing outdoors, slathering sunscreen on their skin, pulling on sunglasses, chasing daylight as though it were a fleeting prize. Here, in the Arctic, the sun is greeted not with haste, but with slow, steady gratitude. The hunters you observe do not race to seize the light. Instead, they welcome it gently, allowing its warmth and glow to soak into their bones and their spirits in its own perfect time. It is a powerful reminder that sometimes life's pace is best set not by the relentless tick of a clock or the demands of a busy schedule, but by the gentle hand of nature and the measured turning of the seasons. The sunlight pours softly over the snow and ice, casting long, tender shadows that stretch across the landscape like delicate brushstrokes on a vast canvas. The snowfields shimmer with hues of pale pink and glowing gold, transforming the familiar frozen world into something enchanted and fragile. You inhale deeply, filling your lungs with the crisp, cold air that no longer bites so harshly, but seems to hold a quiet warmth beneath its surface. In this moment, you sense a deep calm settling into your bones. A slow promise whispered by the light itself that new days are unfolding, patient, unhurried, and full of possibility. The camp around you awakens with this light, but in a way that honors the profound stillness that preceded it. There is a sacred balance here, between movement and rest, between darkness and light, between survival and celebration. The hunters tend their tasks with reverence, repairing tools worn by the long winter, preparing for the hunts and gatherings that the coming seasons will bring, and sharing stories passed down through countless generations. Each gesture is deliberate, each moment savored. It is clear that the return of the sun is more than a meteorological event. It is a renewal of life, a restoration of hope, and a deep reminder of the harmony that sustains this land and its people. As you watch the light lengthen and deepen, you feel a part of something ancient and enduring, a flow of time that stretches beyond your own lifetime, beyond the camp and the ice, woven into the very fabric of the earth and sky. You breathe again, slowly, feeling the peaceful cadence of the Arctic world settle into your being. Here, in this sacred place where the sun returns gently each year, you learn to move with the rhythm of nature, to honor the slow unfolding of life, and to cherish the patient, steady gift of light. You lie back on a smooth, weathered rock, its surface cool yet comforting against your spine, and your gaze lifts toward the vast Arctic sky. Twilight has settled softly over the horizon, a gradual dimming of day into night that feels slow and deliberate, as though time itself is being stretched like a ribbon across the heavens. The first stars begin to pierce the deepening blue, pinpricks of ancient light flickering gently in the crisp air. One by one, the constellations emerge, timeless patterns traced across the sky, each cluster of stars telling stories that have been passed down in hushed voices and whispered tones across countless generations. Here, under the immense vault of the Arctic night, the stars are far more than distant points of light. They are living guides, carefully mapped by the hunters and navigators of this land. They serve as both compass and calendar, a celestial atlas that helps traverse the sprawling ice fields and frozen tundra that stretch endlessly below. As the stars glimmer and the dark deepens, you find yourself drawn into this ancient conversation between earth and sky, a dialogue that has shaped the lives and journeys of the people here for centuries. The hunters lie nearby, their faces turned skyward, eyes sharp and knowing. They begin pointing out familiar clusters and constellations, their fingers tracing invisible lines between the stars. They speak softly, as if not to disturb the quiet majesty overhead, sharing the names and meanings behind each group of stars. To them, these constellations are more than navigation tools. They are storied companions, infused with the essence of ancestors, animals, and spirits that weave together the physical and spiritual paths of their lives. You listen as one hunter speaks of the Big Dipper, not merely as a useful pointer to the North Star, but as a great caribou in the sky, its stars outlining the shape of the majestic animal that has long been central to their survival. Another constellation is described as the spirit of the raven, a trickster figure in many Inuit stories, whose flight across the heavens teaches lessons of wisdom, mischief, and transformation. These stories are gentle, rich, and layered with meaning, a living tapestry woven into the fabric of the night. Each star cluster holds significance beyond its place in the sky. The hunters explain how the rising and setting of certain stars mark the changing seasons, a subtle cue that signals when the caribou herds will migrate, when the sea ice begins to thaw, or when harsh winter storms are brewing on the horizon. The night sky becomes a slow, steady partner in survival, a natural calendar coded in light and shadow. For those who know how to read it, the sky offers warnings and guidance, promising safety or caution with the quiet authority of time itself. You realize that the constellations are a whispered map, an ancient language written in light, passed down through centuries of oral tradition and lived experience. The patterns are never static, but shifting and evolving with the seasons, with the Earth's tilt and the turning of the years. The hunter's knowledge blends practical navigation with profound respect, a spiritual relationship with the cosmos that transcends mere geography. The stars are guardians and guides, ancestors watching from above. Their presence a quiet reassurance in a world that can feel vast and unpredictable. Scholars and historians debate the origins and meanings of these celestial maps. Some argue that the star patterns were developed primarily as practical tools, essential for finding direction across featureless ice and snow, when the sun itself disappears for long months. Others suggest that these constellations are deeply entwined with Inuit cosmology, representing not just physical landmarks, but spiritual symbols that connect people to the universe and to the cycles of life and death, growth and decay. Either way, as you lie there in the cold, the quiet wonder of the Arctic sky envelops you. The stars shine without haste or demand, their soft, steady light encouraging a kind of reflection and calm that feels almost sacred. There is no rush here, no clamor, only the measured pulse of time and space, the gentle unfolding of the night's slow dance. This ancient sky does not overwhelm, but invites patience, quiet observation, and humility. A smile tugs at your lips as you imagine trying to navigate a modern city by stars. The neon lights, the endless hum of cars and chatter, the towering buildings that block the heavens, all would obscure these ancient guides. There is something deeply soothing in this old, slow way of moving through the world, one star at a time. It is a method that demands stillness and trust, a surrender to the vastness and mystery of the night. The cold air brushes softly against your cheeks, carrying the faint scent of fresh snow and the distant, comforting smoke of a campfire. This mingling of scents grounds you in the present moment, a reminder of the world's textures and rhythms beyond sight. The silence is profound, but not empty. It vibrates with the silent hum of the cosmos overhead, a quiet energy that pulses through the stars into your very bones. As you watch the stars twinkle overhead, each flicker feels like a gentle heartbeat of the universe, a reminder that you are part of something much larger and older than yourself. In the vast Arctic night, surrounded by endless ice and sky, you sense the fragile balance of patience and resilience that defines life here. The stars offer not only guidance, but companionship, a quiet fellowship in the darkness. Your thoughts drift to the stories woven into these constellations, the tales of hunters who once looked up to find their way by these same stars, who read the heavens for signs of changing seasons, of luck, of spirit. You think of the elders who taught these stories, their voices soft but firm, carrying the weight of countless winters, passing knowledge like a torch lit from one generation to the next. You imagine the sky as a vast storybook, each constellation a chapter filled with lessons and memories. The stars connect past to present, earth to cosmos, human to spirit. They are a living map not just of space, but of time, marking journeys, marking lives, marking the delicate interplay between survival and meaning. The constellations become a meditation, a slow unfolding of the night's mysteries. You watch as the sky deepens to a velvety black, and more stars appear, their light reaching across millennia. The soft northern lights begin to shimmer faintly on the horizon, adding a ghostly dance of green and purple to the celestial tapestry. It is a quiet spectacle, a gentle reminder of nature's vastness and beauty. In this moment, You understand that navigation here is not a hurried task, but a practice of patience, observation, and reverence. The stars teach you to slow your breath, to open your senses, to listen to the quiet language of the world. Each gleam and flicker in the sky is a word in an ancient poem, a line in a timeless story told in light. You close your eyes briefly and feel the cold air fill your lungs, the vastness of the Arctic night wrapping around you like a soft cloak. When you open them again, the stars seem to shine with renewed clarity, as if inviting you to join their endless journey across the skies. The quiet companionship of these celestial guides reminds you that in this remote and fragile place, patience and calm observation are as vital as any weapon or tool. The night deepens, and the camp around you grows still. The hunters settle into a quiet vigil, their eyes never leaving the sky, their hearts tuned to the slow rhythm of the stars. You feel your own heartbeat slow, syncing with this ancient pulse, a part of the land, the people, and the endless cosmos that watch over you all. As you lie back once more, eyes tracing the shimmering constellations, you carry with you the gentle knowledge that the stars are more than guides. They are keepers of history, carriers of hope, and companions in the quiet endurance of life under the Arctic sky. You gather with the hunters around a low fire, its flames flickering softly against the encroaching Arctic dusk, casting a warm amber glow that contrasts gently with the deepening blue of the twilight sky. The air is crisp and still, touched by the faint scent of pine resin and the distant breath of the frozen tundra. Here, in this remote and timeless place, the day's hunt culminates in a ritual both simple and profound, an act of sharing that feels as slow, deliberate, and meaningful as the hunt itself. The hunters settle into a loose circle on the snow-dusted ground, their breaths visible in the cold air, mingling with the wisps of smoke rising from the fire. You notice how their movements are unhurried, their faces relaxed but attentive, a quiet reverence woven into every gesture. The communal meal is not rushed or hurried. It unfolds like a slow, sacred dance, a ceremony of generosity and gratitude that binds the group together in invisible threads of care. From a nearby wooden sled, the day's catch is carefully unpacked. Strips of seal meat glisten with a faint sheen of fat. Caribou cuts are arranged on wooden platters, and bundles of dried fish, their skin taut and slightly translucent, are laid out with quiet respect. The food is simple, unadorned by spices or elaborate preparation, yet it carries the deep, rich flavors of the Arctic itself. Wild, raw, and tempered by the slow patience of preservation and tradition. You watch as the hunters begin to divide the food, their hands steady and sure, portions measured with care to ensure that none will go hungry. Each piece is offered with a quiet humility, a recognition that every bite represents the gift of life, taken from the land and sea. The act of sharing is more than nourishment. It is a ritual that sustains the social fabric of the group, a soft web of connection that supports survival as surely as any weapon or tool. As you receive your portion, the textures and tastes awaken your senses in a way you hadn't anticipated. The seal meat is tender yet richly flavorful, carrying a faint smokiness from the slow cooking over the fire. The caribou, lean but deeply satisfying, offers a subtle earthiness, a taste of the tundra grasses and crisp air where the animals once roamed. The dried fish provides a delicate saltiness, a sharp contrast that balances the meal. Each bite feels like an offering, a small miracle of life transformed by patient hands and respect. There is warmth in the meal beyond the physical. The glow of the fire and the nourishment of the food mingle with something deeper, a feeling of belonging to something larger, steadier, and more enduring. The shared meal is a reminder that survival here is not merely an individual endeavor. but a communal one, rooted in trust, reciprocity, and care. You notice the subtle ways the hunters support one another during the meal. A hand reaches out to steady a platter. A nod of encouragement passes silently between friends, and laughter bubbles up softly, a balm against the cold and quiet. This gathering is a microcosm of the community itself, a place where generosity is both practiced and honored, where the bonds of kinship and friendship are renewed over shared sustenance. The historical and cultural significance of this ritual is profound. Scholars continue to debate whether the practice of sharing food arose primarily from the harsh practicalities of Arctic life, where resources are scarce and no one can afford to hoard, or if it also serves as a moral and spiritual cornerstone of Inuit society. Perhaps it is both, a delicate balance of necessity and principle. You sense that generosity here is not just survival strategy, but a sacred trust, a recognition that life is interconnected and that the well-being of each depends on the well-being of all. As the meal progresses, you try your hand at the traditional utensils, a bone knife, smooth and worn from generations of use. Your fingers fumble awkwardly at first, the sinew-wrapped handle slippery in the cold. The hunters watch with gentle amusement, their smiles warm and understanding. They offer quiet guidance without haste or judgment, sharing tips with patient kindness. Your clumsy attempts spark a small ripple of laughter, a light moment that blends seamlessly into the gentle rhythm of the meal, underscoring the intimacy and ease of this communal space. The smoky scent of the fire curls through the air, mingling with the rich aroma of cooked meat, filling your lungs with a comforting, grounding fragrance. The crackle of burning wood punctuates the soft murmur of voices, the occasional shift of bodies settling deeper into the snow. Above, the Arctic sky deepens to a velvet black, studded with countless stars that seem to watch over the gathering with silent grace. As you eat, the steady beat of the Arctic night presses gently against you, slow, deliberate, and quietly sustaining. It is a rhythm echoed in the measured pace of the meal, in the unspoken bonds forged through shared hardship and shared bounty. You feel a profound gratitude for this moment, for the food that nourishes both body and spirit, and for the community that embraces you with open hands and warm hearts. In this circle of firelight and shadow, you sense the deep cultural value placed on generosity and community. The meal is a living tradition, a practice that links past to present, hunter to family, individual to group. It is a testament to resilience, a soft strength woven through the fabric of daily life that has carried this people through countless winters. As the last pieces of meat are passed around and the fire dwindles to glowing embers, a gentle hush falls over the group. You lean back against a rock, feeling the warmth of the fire fade, but the warmth of connection remain. The cold night air carries the distant howl of a wolf, a reminder of the wildness beyond the camp. While nearby, the quiet breathing of companions forms a soothing chorus. The communal meal lingers in your memory, not just as sustenance, but as a ritual imbued with meaning, a slow unfolding of nourishment and fellowship that speaks to the very heart of Arctic life. It is a moment suspended in time, where the simple act of sharing food becomes a profound expression of care, patience, and enduring human connection. You notice small, delicate carvings resting near the campfire, quiet objects nestled carefully on a worn piece of sealskin, their surfaces gleaming softly in the firelight. The figures are crafted from bone and ivory, their forms simple yet intricate, the shapes of animals, tools, and abstract designs etched with a patient, steady hand. Each carving bears the subtle marks of careful shaping, fine grooves, polished edges, tiny incisions that speak of long hours spent in meticulous work. These small sculptures aren't flashy or loud. they do not demand attention through size or ornamentation. Instead, they speak softly, quietly, whispers of daily life, threads of cultural memory woven into tangible form. As you pick one up, the cool smoothness of the ivory presses gently into your palm. The weight is light but solid, a delicate balance of strength and grace. You trace the outline of a bird, perhaps a raven or an owl, with your fingertips, imagining the slow, deliberate movements required to coax such a shape from raw bone. Candlelight must have danced over the hunter's hands for hours. Fingers steady despite the cold, the work carried out with reverence and focus. In this simple object, you feel the presence of the maker, the echo of their intent. The hunters nearby notice your interest and lean closer, their eyes warm with a quiet pride. They begin to explain softly how carving is far more than a pastime or mere decoration. It is a daily ritual, a gentle way to connect with ancestors and the natural world. Each piece carries a story. Sometimes it is a prayer, a wish for good fortune, or a protective charm meant to guide and guard. Other times, the carvings mark identity, symbols of family lineage, clan affiliation, or spiritual guardianship. You learn that these carvings decorate not only the camps, but also the hunters themselves. They hang from necklaces, adorn clothing, or nestle in pockets as constant companions. They are soft reminders of identity and history, woven deeply into the fabric of everyday life. These small tokens act as anchors, linking the present moment to a past that is not distant, but alive, present in every stroke of the carving knife and every shared story told beside the fire. One hunter picks up a tiny carving of a seal, its body curving elegantly, eyes and flippers hinted at with few precise lines. He tells you it represents the spirit of the animal that sustained his family through a long winter, a symbol of gratitude and respect. Another holds a slender bone pendant etched with abstract swirls, a design passed down from his grandmother, said to bring calm and clarity in times of uncertainty. As the fire crackles, you sense that these pieces are quiet yet powerful artifacts, vessels of meaning crafted with care and intention. They remind you that art here is not about grand gestures or display, but about reflection, connection, and survival. You find yourself holding the carving tools offered by the hunters, a small blade sharpened to a fine edge, a tiny file smoothed from bone, and a delicate scraper made of driftwood. Your fingers are clumsy at first, awkward in this unfamiliar task. Yet you are determined. Guided by the gentle encouragement of the hunters, you begin to shape a small piece of bone, tentative at first, then more confident with each slow stroke. The process is peaceful and absorbing. Your breath steadies and your attention sharpens as you work, every movement deliberate and mindful. It is a slow unfolding of skill and patience, a meditation in miniature. Around you, the hunters carve quietly too, their faces calm and focused in the firelight. The communal silence is comfortable, punctuated only by the soft scrape of tools against bone and the occasional murmur of conversation. You notice how the act of carving transforms the night. The cold Arctic air, sharp and clean, seems to settle softly around the camp, mingling with the smoky scent of burning driftwood and the faint, earthy aroma of shavings falling to the ground. This scent is subtle yet grounding, a fragrant reminder of the land and the craft that arises from it. It weaves into the atmosphere like a quiet hymn to tradition, a sensory thread connecting all who gather here. As the evening deepens, you begin to understand that carving is a dialogue, a conversation between maker, material, and memory. Each stroke of the blade is an act of listening, a response to the grain of the bone, the shape of the raw material, and the spirit of those who came before. The process is slow but alive, a gentle unfolding of form and meaning. The hunters share stories of carving passed down through generations, tales of ancestors who shaped ivory tools not only for use, but as spiritual conduits, who found in their art a way to commune with the natural world and the unseen forces that guide life. They speak of how carving can bring calm and focus in harsh times, a sacred rhythm that steadies the heart and mind. You reflect on how this art is less about exhibition and more about quiet reflection and connection, a personal journey as much as a communal tradition. The carvings become a way to carry history forward, a language of respect, patience, and care spoken through fingertips. As you carve, the night deepens into a velvet darkness sprinkled with stars, the vast Arctic sky stretching overhead like a silent witness to your efforts. The firelight flickers softly on the carvings scattered around the camp, their surfaces gleaming faintly with the glow of stories told and retold. The slow, rhythmic movement of carving seems to echo the steady pulse of the land itself, the measured beat of wind, snow, and quiet endurance. You feel a gentle connection to the hunters and their ancestors, a thread that links past and present, human and nature. The carvings are more than objects. They are bridges, tangible expressions of identity, survival, and reverence. Eventually, your small piece takes shape, a modest figure but one born of patient hands and quiet attention. Holding it up, you sense not just the material, but the meaning infused into it by the slow work of creation. The hunters nod with approval, their smiles soft and encouraging, welcoming you into this ancient tradition with gentle kindness. As the fire dwindles to glowing embers, you sit back and breathe deeply, the scent of smoke and shavings lingering in the cold air. The camp grows quiet, wrapped in the soft stillness of night, and you realize that here, in this remote Arctic place, art is a living, breathing practice, a slow, sacred unfolding of spirit, memory, and connection. You settle close to an elder, their figure seated comfortably upon a well-worn stone beside the flickering campfire. The elder's face is a landscape of history, etched deeply with lines that flow like soft rivers of experience across weathered skin. These lines tell silent stories of long winters, sunlit summers, hunts gone well, and hardships endured. The light of the fire dances in their eyes that have seen the shifting Arctic skies through countless seasons, eyes that carry the weight of centuries yet sparkle with quiet warmth and sharp intelligence. As you draw nearer, you find a place beside them on the cold ground, careful to keep your movements gentle, so as not to disturb the serene atmosphere that settles around the elder like a protective cloak. Their presence is calm and grounding, a living bridge to a past rich with meaning and resilience. The elder's voice begins to rise, not in volume, but in a steady cadence that invites you to lean in, to listen deeply, and to absorb the wisdom they impart. Their stories are not hurried nor forced. They unfold slowly, like a warm blanket being wrapped carefully around your shoulders on a chill evening. Each word is measured, spoken with a quiet authority that carries no need to dominate, but instead offers guidance and reflection. The elder's tone is gentle, their advice shared as if imparting a precious gift, something to be treasured and considered thoughtfully. They speak first of respect, the foundational value that threads through all aspects of life here. Respect for the land is paramount, they explain, for the Arctic is not merely a place of survival, but a living, breathing entity. The earth, ice, and sky are intertwined with the people who dwell here. Each step taken upon the frozen ground, a step in a sacred dance of balance and reciprocity. The animals, too, command profound reverence. Hunters do not see their quarry as mere resources. Instead, each animal is a giver of life, deserving of honor both in the hunt and in how its gifts are used. This respect extends inward, to the community itself, neighbors and kin whose lives are woven tightly together in a tapestry of mutual care and support. The elders' voice softens further as they reflect on the luxury of time, an often overlooked treasure in this harsh environment. Life here moves slowly, dictated by the rhythms of nature rather than the frantic pace of modern worlds. Seasons stretch long and deliberate. Days linger with gentle light, and nights extend into vast blankets of stars. This slow passage of time is not a burden, but a blessing, a chance for reflection and understanding to take root. There is no room here for haste or regret, only the patient unfolding of moments, each carrying its own lessons and meaning. You feel the depth of this wisdom settling within you like a quiet current, pulling you toward a more considered way of being. The elder's presence becomes an anchor amid the ever-changing Arctic world, a steady beacon of slow authority that holds the community's history and values. As you listen, the elder shares memories and lessons passed down through generations. Oral traditions that have survived countless winters, told beside fires just like this one. Historians debate whether these transmissions were purely oral or intertwined with ritual and ceremony, but here it feels seamless. Knowledge, spirituality, and daily practice woven together like threads in a living tapestry. The stories you hear carry echoes of sacred rituals, of dances and songs that honor the land and its cycles, and of quiet moments where reverence and survival meet. The atmosphere around the fire hums with shared history, a living pulse that connects past to present. The elder's voice, warm and steady, carries you deeper into the fabric of this place and its people. Their words paint pictures of the tundra's silent beauty, the way the snow glistens under the pale sun, how the aurora flickers like ghostly spirits overhead, how the wind carries stories on its breath. Then, unexpectedly, a dry joke breaks the solemnity. The elder chuckles softly as they recall a time when they tried to race a seal across the ice. "I lost," they say with a wry smile, "but only because I stopped to laugh at my own foolishness." The laughter that follows is genuine and full-bodied, spilling warmly into the cold air. It is a sound that bridges generations, a moment of lightness that contrasts with the serious weight of wisdom, but complements it perfectly. The elder's eyes crinkle with joy as the group around the fire shares in this gentle humor. You find yourself smiling softly too, feeling the warmth of connection deepen in this simple, shared moment. The laughter fades into a comfortable silence, one filled not with absence but with the ongoing hum of life and presence. The scent of burning moss mingles with the crisp Arctic air, the smoky aroma weaving through the night like an invisible thread. It grounds you, carrying you beyond the fire's glow into the vast openness around the camp. The cold breath of the tundra touches your cheeks, sharp yet refreshing, and you breathe deeply, letting the chill clear your mind and sharpen your senses. As the elder's voice trails into a gentle silence, you are left with a sense of calm continuity, a feeling that the lessons and stories shared here are not just echoes of the past, but living forces guiding the present and future. You sense the quiet pulse of life carried forward, slow and steady, through the elders' steady hands and hearts. In this moment beside the fire, you feel the weight and the lightness of belonging. Anchored by tradition, yet carried forward by the gentle unfolding of each new day, you find yourself immersed in the gentle unfolding of daily life among the hunters and their families. A world where the balance between men's and women's roles is neither stark nor rigid, but flows quietly and seamlessly like a soft current beneath the surface. The divisions you might have expected, clear lines of separation, sharp boundaries between tasks, are nowhere to be found. Instead, you witness a nuanced dance of cooperation and mutual respect, where each person moves with unhurried purpose, contributing naturally to the whole. In the cool light of morning, women gather near the fire, their hands skilled and steady as they prepare animal skins. You watch closely as they stretch and soften the hides, sewing seams with sinew thread pulled tight but gentle, shaping the raw materials into garments, tents, and tools that will sustain the community through the biting cold. Their movements are calm and precise, each stitch a quiet act of care and tradition. You notice how they share tips and stories between themselves, laughter and advice mingling like the smoke that curls upward. Not far away, the men prepare for the day's hunt. They check their harpoons and sleds, examine the snow for fresh tracks, and discuss the best paths across the frozen landscape. Their eyes are sharp, attuned to subtle signs, the faintest impressions in the snow, the distant cry of birds, the changing winds. Yet, despite this focus, you see them pause to help with tasks traditionally considered women's work, lending a hand to stretch hides or carry bundles of firewood. The boundaries here are soft, flexible, shaped less by strict rules than by the shared goal of survival and well-being. Throughout the day, this fluidity continues. A woman may accompany the hunters to assist with processing the catch, deftly using a knife to prepare meat or craft tools from bones. A man may tend to the fire or assist with mending clothing, actions that blend seamlessly into the rhythms of camp life. There is a quiet harmony in these exchanges, a gentle acknowledgement that every role matters and that strength is found in cooperation rather than division. You become aware of how responsibilities ebb and flow with the seasons. In the long light of summer, the focus shifts to gathering, repairing, and preparing for the colder months ahead. As winter deepens and daylight wanes, the community's energy centers on hunting and preservation. Tasks once shared may become more specialized, yet the underlying respect for one another's contributions remains constant. The work is undeniably hard, the environment unforgiving, but it is paced thoughtfully, measured to prevent exhaustion and preserve strength. There is an unspoken understanding that survival depends not just on individual endurance, but on collective balance. Historians have long debated whether Inuit gender roles were strictly delineated or inherently flexible. Shaped more by circumstance, individual talents, and community needs than by rigid customs. What you see here supports the latter, a tapestry woven from necessity and empathy, with threads that shift and adjust as life demands. The dignity in this balance is palpable, a soft, steady rhythm where each task flows naturally into the next, guided by calm intention and mutual support. Your own attempts to keep pace with this slow, intentional way of living bring moments of gentle humor. 1 minute you fumble awkwardly with a sinew needle, struggling to thread it through thick hide. The next you clutch a harpoon uncertainly, marveling at the hunter's ease as they prepare to venture into the ice. The hunters smile patiently at your efforts, their encouragement warm and unhurried. You realize that mastering this intricate dance takes time, patience, and a willingness to learn through quiet observation and practice. The air around the camp carries the soft scent of tanned hides, mingling with the crisp freshness of snow and the faint smoky aroma of fires tended steadily throughout the day. These smells ground you, anchoring your senses in the moment and in the continuity of tradition. There is a comforting sense of order here, a measured pace that honors both work and rest, where every contribution is valued and cooperation weaves the fabric of daily life into a resilient, enduring whole. As you observe and participate in this balanced life, you feel a deep appreciation for the quiet strength that sustains the community. Here, survival is not a frantic struggle, but a slow, deliberate unfolding, a dance of harmony and respect that carries forward through seasons and generations. Whispered softly beneath the vast, patient Arctic sky. You kneel beside a small hole drilled through thick ice, the surface slick and shimmering under the pale sun. as you prepare for ice fishing. A quiet, slow practice requiring both patience and keen observation. The hunters explain how to listen to the water's subtle sounds beneath the ice and watch for small ripples that signal fish movements. You wait in near silence, the cold air biting gently, your breath a soft mist merging with the stillness. The fishing lines are simple but effective. Thin hooks tied to sinew, lowered carefully into the dark depths below. It's not a fast or noisy activity. Rather, it's a slow vigil, a test of calm and focus that can last hours. You find yourself relaxing into the rhythm, the gentle drip of melting ice and the faint creak of shifting snow, creating a soothing backdrop. Historians still argue whether ice fishing was primarily a subsistence strategy or also a social activity reinforcing community bonds. Either way, you sense the quiet patience and trust in nature that underpin this tradition. You chuckle quietly at your first failed attempt to hook a fish, the line slipping through your fingers and splashing softly on the ice. Earning a knowing smile from a nearby hunter, it's a small reminder that this slow art takes practice and humility. The scent of cold water mingles with pine and frozen earth. And as you wait, the soft Arctic light deepens, wrapping the landscape in a slow, calming twilight that soothes your racing thoughts. The long midwinter night envelops the landscape in deep blue shadows, a darkness so complete it feels almost like a soft blanket wrapped around the world. You notice how this endless night shapes not only the environment, but the very rhythm of life here. Movement slows, conversations soften, even thoughts seem to drift more gently, as if the darkness itself encourages rest and reflection. During the summer, by contrast, the sun barely dips below the horizon, casting a pale, constant light that stretches the day into what feels like an unending twilight. The hunters adjust their pace accordingly, embracing the slow shifts between light and dark as natural guides rather than obstacles. Historians still argue whether the Inuits' perception of time was radically different from other cultures because of these extremes. Either way, you feel the comforting steadiness in the way life here flows, with the slow, graceful shifts of the sun. You smile softly at the thought of your own midnight routine, probably flipping lights on and off to convince yourself it's bedtime, while the hunters simply follow the sun's gentle cue. No rush, no fuss. The air smells faintly of pine and frozen earth. And as you settle into this slow rhythm of unseen seasons, you feel yourself wrapped in the quiet pulse of Arctic time, where patience and stillness reign. You carefully examine the harpoons resting beside you, their wooden shafts smooth and worn, the toggling tips sharp, yet designed for efficiency rather than speed. These hunting tools reflect centuries of slow refinement, honed through careful observation of the sea and its creatures. You notice the subtle balance in their weight, and the way the toggling mechanism allows the harpoon to hold firmly without tearing, a quiet engineering marvel. The hunters explain how every part of the harpoon is crafted to maximize success while minimizing waste. A reflection of deep respect for the animals and the environment. You run your fingers along the sinew bindings, feeling the patience embedded in each twist and knot. Historians still argue whether the toggling harpoon was invented independently in the Arctic or borrowed through ancient trade routes. Either way, you appreciate the slow innovation that blends practicality with reverence. You smile quietly at your own fumbling attempts to handle the harpoon, recalling how modern tools often prioritize speed and power, while here, subtlety and patience rule the day. The faint scent of salt water and driftwood mingles with the crisp Arctic air. And as you prepare to use the harpoon, you feel connected to a long line of hunters whose careful craft sustains life through quiet skill. You listen closely to the flowing cadence of the Inuit language, its words rolling softly like the snowdrifts outside the camp. The language is shaped by the landscape itself, fluid, gentle, and deeply connected to the natural world. You learn how certain words evoke the shifting ice, the call of animals, or the whisper of the wind, creating a vocabulary that feels as soft and vast as the Arctic plains. The hunters teach you a few simple phrases, their voices low and melodic, encouraging you to match the rhythm and tone. The language feels like a slow song, one that invites careful listening and thoughtful response. You notice how the words don't rush but unfold gently, each syllable a small step in a graceful dance. Historians still argue how the language's structure influenced Inuit culture and worldview. Either way, you feel the comforting flow of a tongue shaped by patience, harmony, and respect for nature. You chuckle quietly at your own mispronunciations, the hunter's smiles reassuring and warm, making you feel part of this gentle conversation. The cold air carries the faint scent of wood smoke and crisp snow, wrapping your words in a soft Arctic embrace. As you practice, you realize that language here isn't just communication. It's a slow, shared rhythm that binds community and landscape together in quiet harmony. You sit silently as the day fades, watching the soft glow of the Arctic twilight deepen into dusk. The hunters gather for a quiet vigil, their eyes reflecting the muted colors of the sky, their faces calm and thoughtful. This is a moment of reflection, a gentle pause where thoughts drift slowly like snowflakes settling on the frozen earth. You feel the stillness settling over you, the weight of the day's experiences sinking in like a slow tide. Memories of patient tracking, quiet carving, and shared meals weave together, creating a tapestry of calm and connection. The vast silence around you is comforting, not empty, filled instead with the subtle hum of life's slow pulse. Historians still argue whether such vigils were primarily spiritual or practical, a way to honor the day and prepare mentally for what comes next. Either way, you understand that this slow reflection is essential, a soft anchor in a world that demands patience. You quietly smile at the thought of your own hurried days, suddenly appreciating the luxury of this stillness. The cold air tastes faintly of pine and frost, wrapping you in a gentle embrace as the stars begin to twinkle softly overhead. This is a moment to simply be, to watch, to breathe, and to let the calm wash over you like a soft, endless snow. The camp settles into quiet routines as twilight fades into night, and you watch the hunters engage in slow rituals of repair and rest. Tools are mended with careful hands, clothes patched with sinew and patience, and fires tended with gentle coaxing rather than frantic stoking. There's a sense of mindful renewal in every action, a respect for the day just past and the promise of tomorrow. You notice how even rest is purposeful here, a soft rhythm of sleep and wakefulness that honors the body's needs without rush or resistance. The hunters prepare their gear for the next day, each movement measured and calm, an unhurried promise to continue this gentle cycle of life. Historians still argue whether these nightly rituals were solely practical, or if they carried deeper spiritual significance, embedding meaning in every small task. Either way, you feel the soothing weight of these slow actions, a quiet comfort that anchors the community in time and space. You smile softly as you fold your own worn clothes and settle down beside the fading fire, the cold air softened by the warmth of shared endurance. The scent of smoke and snow lingers, blending with the steady heartbeat of the camp as it drifts toward rest. As you close your eyes, you carry with you the gentle pulse of a life lived slowly, patiently, and with deep respect for the world around you. A quiet rhythm that promises continuity and calm. The Arctic night settles softly around you, its deep silence wrapping the world in a gentle embrace. Your breath slows, matching the steady rhythm of the cold air as it moves quietly past. The vast landscape fades into a pale wash of shadow and light, soft edges blurring into the calm dark. There is no hurry here, no need to chase time or force change. Instead, you rest in the steady pulse of patience and care that shapes this quiet life. You feel yourself becoming part of this slow world, where every moment stretches gently into the next, where the harshness of cold is softened by warmth and tradition, and where survival is an art of gentle attention and respect. The stars above twinkle faintly, like distant promises, guiding you into dreams woven with soft snowflakes and whispered stories. Let your mind drift, carried by the soft tide of history and quiet strength. Feel the gentle weight of the past settling like a warm blanket around your shoulders. Tomorrow waits, but for now, there is only this slow breath, this calm stillness, and the soothing hum of the Arctic night. Sweet dreams. End of script. Sweet dreams.